do some breaking news here. What is going on with these drones? Now, we saw last couple of few days there was some incursions in Denmark, and it shut down the airports for like a couple of days and quieted down. And now all of a sudden we've got breaking news of these things going on again. Now, this was just posted a few hours ago, about 8 hours ago, and I'm gonna see what else I can find while we check this out. But this is breaking, and this is pretty crazy, everyone. Let's take a look here.
Denmark says drone incursions, which have forced the country to close its airports this week, are a hybrid attack, and officials say they expect there will be more of them. They also say they believe the drones are being operated by a, quote, professional actor, but there was no evidence of a link to Russia. The Defence Minister called it the most serious attack on Danish critical infrastructure to date and has reached out to NATO and the EU to discuss the incidents. Danish police said it was not possible to down the drones that were spotted at 3 airports and a military base, and that no one had been arrested. The incidents come a day after Copenhagen Airport was shut down due to drones, and follows a series of incursions of Russian drones and aircraft into EU airspace this month. A short while ago, I spoke to Danish journalist Jacob Ilborg about the latest updates from Denmark.
Well, basically, as you said before, a lot of questions, not so many answers. Really, right now, we know, as you say, that this is what's called a hybrid attack. I think there was a lot of, if not saying they believe Russia is behind, kind of hinting at it, at least. And also, as you said, of course, they expect more to come. So we know that security in Denmark has now been elevated, and a lot of questions about whether Denmark is prepared for this, both in terms of drones and should it be something else, are being asked.
Yeah, this is, of course, you allude to it, the second incident this week. Authorities say there is a professional actor behind it, but not much more. Who are you hearing can be behind this? What's being speculated at this point?
Well, I suppose the elephant in the room is very much Russia. There were some direct questions and some answers from the defense minister. There's no doubt that Denmark has been in a tit-for-tat with Russia. Only a couple of weeks ago, Denmark announced that they were buying long-range missile systems for $10 billion, the biggest purchase ever in Danish military history. And Russia didn't like that very much. In Denmark, I think that...
Well, he's rugging, so we're going to get that off the screen here. Okay, we've got another video. So this one, we're saying that the speculation is that it's Russian. Denmark bought $10 billion of long-range missiles. Russia didn't like that, and this may be Russia doing a little bit of a flex to show Denmark, hey, we're still the boss, even though you've got some missiles. So this is another video. Again, this one implying it is Russian drones, although I don't know what the actual evidence or proof is. But let's take a look at this guy.
Vi er endnu ikke et sted, hvor vi med sikkerhed ved, hvem der står bag. Men der må ikke være tvivl om, at alt tyder på, at det er en professionel aktør, når der taler om så systematisk en operation på så mange lokationer, stort set simultant. Der er tale om det, som jeg vil definere som et hybridangreb med forskellige typer af droner.
All right, so according to them, this is a retaliation because Denmark participated in military drills with NATO, and they also purchased a bunch of NATO weapons. And so this is kind of basically a flex by Russia saying, look, we don't like it. We don't like the involvement with NATO. We don't like the proximity. We don't like the drills. So this is what we can do without even claiming it's us. We can disrupt your civilian flights by barely lifting a finger, by the snap of our fingers. Now, also 3 hours ago, we had this breaking, which is quite interesting. We had some Russian fighters that the U.S. had to intercept. So let's take a listen to what's going on here.
And thank you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We do have some breaking news that happened a little bit earlier today that we did want to get to you here on Live Now from Fox. As I put up this post here from Fox News, we are learning, according to the North American Aerospace Defense Command, also known as NORAD, the U.S. scrambled fighter jets and other aircraft to identify and intercept 4 Russian warplanes flying near Alaska today. It's the 3rd time in about a month and the 9th time this year that NORAD has reported such an incident involving Russian aircraft flying near Alaska. NORAD said in a statement issued earlier this morning that it detected and tracked 2 Russian bombers and 2 Russian fighter jets operating in the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. A total of 9 U.S. aircraft, a command and control aircraft, 4 fighter jets, and 4 tanker planes scrambled to positively identify and intercept the Russian jets. The Russian aircraft remained in international airspace and did not enter American or Canadian sovereign airspace. Such Russian activity near Alaska occurs regularly and is not seen as a threat. However, the incident comes after President Trump said Tuesday he believed Ukraine could win back all territory lost to Russia, which is a shift from President Trump's calls for Kyiv to make concessions to end Russia's war in Ukraine. NATO warned Russia on Tuesday as well that it would use all means to defend against any further breaches of its airspace after the downing this month of Russian drones over Poland and Estonia's report of an intrusion by Russian fighter jets last week. President Trump also said on Tuesday NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace. Asked if the U.S. would back up NATO allies in a situation like that, President Trump said, quote, "It depends on the circumstance." Following a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska last month, President Trump said he was arranging for direct talks between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I mean, come on. You're going to get us into World War III here. We need to be really careful about what we're doing. So clearly the meeting in Alaska didn't go as we had hoped. Then we have Trump posting about a week or 2 ago about all of a sudden he's almost completely changed his tone, supporting Ukraine, saying that he thinks Ukraine could even push back and even take back parts of Ukraine that Russia has kind of slowly taken over before the war even started. So talking very optimistically about Ukraine being able to fight Russia. Now we have all these drone incursions and we have Russian MiGs flying into our U.S. airspace, protected airspace. These are provocations, and these are how things escalate It's unfortunate. I really hope that things don't get worse. We're going to take a look at one more story here on the drones and go from there. So let me get this pulled up. All right, let's take a look at some local news coverage on the drones here.
A glowing orb near to one of Denmark's major airports. If there's a way to attempt to destabilise countries within NATO, this is surely it. An unauthorised drone in its airspace. Denmark hasn't pointed the finger at anyone, but says everything points to it being carried out by a professional actor.
I want to make it very clear. The goal of this kind of hybrid attack is to create fear. It is to create discord, and it is to make us afraid. And without drawing any conclusions regarding the evening and night's events in Denmark, we can state that sabotage and cyber attacks and other forms of hybrid attacks have become an all too recurring part of European reality.
Aalborg is the major airport in the north of Denmark. It was forced to shut down for hours after drone sightings nearby. Drone activity was also reported in airports further south. The drone said to have been launched locally, possibly by sea, although no confirmation as to who or how. It's the second security incident in Nordic countries this week. This was Oslo's airport in Norway, shut down after a drone flew through its no-fly zone on Monday. And in Copenhagen too, causing chaos and disruption for some 20,000 people. It appears this has become a pattern.
Huge.
Europe has been on high alert for weeks, and just days ago, 3 Russian fighter jets entered Estonian airspace for 12 minutes. It was deemed reckless. Russia claimed they were neutral waters and accused Estonia of ratcheting up tensions. French and Polish planes also among those bolstering defence after Russian drones were flown into Polish airspace earlier this month. Romania too, reporting drone sightings. Russia said that repeat suggestions of airspace violations were unfounded. But if Denmark isn't pointing the finger, Germany is.
It comes as no surprise, even if my colleagues in Denmark are unable to talk about where these drones come from. The suspicion is obvious. This is part of Vladimir Putin's strategy, without us being able to say anything concrete in this case, as I said, but it is part of what we experience every day. We're not at war, but we are also no longer at complete peace.
Hybrid attacks attempt to blur the lines between war and peace. Through military or non-military methods, foreign actors attempt to target political institutions and influence public opinion, undermining security. They've been used for years, with recent attacks ramping up the speed, the scale, the intensity. NATO's line would usually be prepare, deter, defend. But as airports work to get back to normal this week, Denmark said it hadn't shot down drones for the safety of the population. How to defend against them, trickier now, for this is the new reality we live in.
Okay, there we go. So, I mean, it's pretty clear what's going on is this is a Russian response to NATO activities. This probably has to do with President Trump's, tweet, Truth Social post, I'm not sure which one, about backing up Ukraine. And so they're stirring up the hornet's nest. They're causing a problem. They're saying it's not us. It's not just our space that they violated. We find out from that report, Estonian airspace and other airspaces have been violated, I'm sure. Not to mention these drone incursions basically shutting down flights and causing all kinds of problems. That's what we've got. And this is unfortunately one step closer to an escalation of some type of skirmish, possibly with Russia, or, maybe more intense fighting in Ukraine. We're not sure. We'll have to see how this plays out. But clearly what these are Russian drones or actors on behalf of Russia causing these issues. It's unfortunate, and boy, keep your eyes glued, keep your head on a swivel, stay safe out there, folks. Thanks for tuning in for this update. Gabriel Speaks Show. We'll see you next time.